Hello, friends. Once again, we are back. But before we start today's show, I would just like to remind our Canadian listeners that tickets are still available to our two shows this August in the country of Canada. August 17th in Toronto at the Danforth Music Hall and August 19th in Montreal at the Beanfield Theatre. So once again, tickets still available to both shows. Canada, please come out to see us in Toronto and Montreal this August 17th and 19th. Let's start the show. The fact that you buy a ticket and that ticket represents like your passage, your seat on a travel that is appointed to a certain time that you can rely on basically arriving in your destination at the appointed time. And then also you can bring a bag with you. Like now that basic service of like is reserved for like the special subscriber club. Like fuck first class. Like if you just want to sit and have like Wi-Fi or like something to charge your phone with while you wait at the terminal, like you have to be in like the Delta Sky Priority Club. And no, you can't pay to be in that club when you arrive at the airport. You have to get their credit card you have to get a credit card debt to Delta Airlines. Sorry, this is you're just tuning into the new show, Complaints About the Way Things Are. Things are not as good as they used to be. Everything's falling apart.
Felix, hello. I'm already rolling. I've got my mic. I'm recording as well. I figure you guys can have at it, but I'm here if you need any extra energy or whatever on this app.
All right.
You can always use some extra energy. It's Monday, July 17th. It's Chapo checking in once more with you guys. Let's bless them, fellas. Matt is still on vacation. Just me, Felix, and Chris for today. But where to begin? Where to start today? Right before I started recording today, I was just checking in on our friend Cat Turd 2, who is he's very angry at Twitter, still is, but this time with some good reason, because basically I don't know exactly how this works, but people, if you suck Elon's dick hard enough, he sends you a check now. On Twitter, like you get ad residuals or something.
Well, so I think like all the ad shit we saw is like it's not universal. This is not like YouTube. I don't believe that for a second.
No,
it's
not
just
at
like
all.
If you're verified and like a certain amount of blue checks to reply to you, you'll get a check. It's like a complete lie and was like only given to people who go, oh my god, like thank you, Elon. So like the Krasensteins, libs of TikTok. Like, the Krasensteins are the only good people who got money. Everyone else is like,
Tim Pool.
Like, it's something like that.
I think Mr. Beast got some money too, who I consider a fairly neutral figure, basically a product of pure internet.
Right, but like all these people represent like people that Elon wants to get on board. Like one normal, one whatever the Krasensteins are, and then like a bunch of like rubes who already make up the majority of the customer base for Twitter Blue. But he didn't pay off Cat Turd, which is incredibly shoddy work.
I mean, is it though? Because Cat Turd's been bitching about him nonstop for months now. So, I mean, like, and now he wants a check?
Well, I don't know. Like, Cat Turd is... I mean, he acquiesces to everything else that Cat Turd says.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, like, I'm not so much interested in Cat Turd's like long ass response, and he's just like complaining about how unfair it is, and he's like, my engagements and all the years of work I put into my Twitter account. I'm way more interested in the people who reply to Cat Turd, because like checking Cat Turd's replies is like my favorite thing to do on Twitter, and I was just going through and seeing some of the people responding to Cat Turd, like turd heads out there. And the first thing I come across is a guy named Don Looney, Don the Biker 66, and his bio says, stock trader, not financial advice, old man, lover of animals. I have a pet alligator, one shot, one miss. This guy is just like cooked Florida, just that pure Florida.
He sounds cool.
Yeah. Okay. This is another really great display name. Adam Brimson Designs. And this is a guy. This guy with like a backwards hat and sunglasses, but it just says artist, crazy, right wing, conspiracy, extremist. That's Adam Brimson Designs, everybody.
So I know that the line has been that, you know, Elon has lost Cat Turd. Like, what is he going to do with his project now that he's lost Cat Turd? But is it possible? And I know that, you know, nobody's ever lost money betting against Elon's stupidity. But is it possible that Cat Turd has lost Elon? Like, does Elon at this point just know that he doesn't actually need to pay this guy off because he's so addicted to the product that no matter what Elon does, he's only going to continue adding to the engagement? He's using the long tweets. He's continuing to post probably 18 hours a day. Like, you know, maybe to give Elon an ounce of credit, he's like, I actually don't need to cater to this guy because he'll always be back.
I mean, like, Cat Turd will be back along with Cat Turd fans like Philip LaFleche. Oops, I farted. Ultra MAGA wordsmith, Carrie America, Hodge twins, which are identical twin conservative comedians. It's all the same person, but I like Cat Turd's fans more than I like Cat Turd.
I don't know. I like Cat Turd I like him more than any of the other conservative figures because I like that he was in like he was in some like bullshit like Steely Dan type band in the 70s or 80s called like, you know, the Musty Grapes or some shit.
Such a beautiful color wear upon your skin, and the perfect shade of purple on a flower permanent.
He's like lived a more complete life than the others, I feel like. I like Cat Turd. I like that I mean, all the other conservatives seem to have just immediately like started dick riding Elon, but Cat Turd, he has shown, I don't know if I'd call it integrity, because he's just like ultimately complaining about nothing. Like he's just making things up and getting mad about them. But it's something, you know, like I appreciate how he's like, great, Elon's in charge and I'm being de-boosted again. All these things that I have no idea what the fuck they mean. I think he's at least made Elon's life worse. And I like that about him.
Respect. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is sort of a pickup of, Felix, something you mentioned on our last episode in regards to that Groyper claiming that Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet was ghetto Shakespeare for black people.
Yeah.
And this is an example of somebody who was so bereft of any connection to any human being that they're just like, they don't have the references or life experience to even be properly racist. I would just like to keep that in mind. Chris, I just shared this link in the chat. If we could bring up, this is Charlie Kirk talking at the Turning Points USA conference over the weekend.
Yeah, 1 second.
And by the way, none of them believe in affirmative action. You're trying to tell me if Sheila Jackson Lee, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Flight 781 with nonstop service from Houston, Texas to Washington Reagan National Airport. I want to tell you that we have Sheila Jackson Lee on board, and in the spirit of affirmative action, we have Ramon and Cadillac are your two pilots. They've never flown before, but they are black. Sheila Jackson Lee would be like, forget it, I'm off this plane. She would jump like, I ain't flying here.
Okay. Okay.
You know, where to begin? Ramon, I thought he was going in an entirely different direction when he said Ramon. I mean, that, like, this is the type of thing that you need to step down over. Not because it's racist, but because it's like, you don't know what you're doing. Like, is it one of those Estebans who's always wearing a do-rag? Like, what? You did not have the racial knowledge to be leading TPUSA. And then Cadillac is just, I mean, what do you even say to that? I don't even think anyone's grandfather would bring that up as a black guy's name.
I think he's thinking about like the Reagan era racist trope about welfare queens driving Cadillacs, but they didn't name their kids Cadillac.
Or
like
Ramon.
Cadillac is his stock it's just like you could tell he was pressed to kind of come up with something on the fly. And the fact that he came up with like a generally speaking a Hispanic name and then just a car he associates with black people, you're right. Like his funders need to the board of TPUSA needs to get him out of there and bring in a real racist. Bring in a racist with some fucking with some contemporary knowledge.
Yeah, this is just. I mean, I don't know which is more egregious. I'm honestly going to say Ramon, just because it is. It's like it's completely whiffing. It is completely just literally picking the wrong race. Cadillac, at least, like I could see a guy who's been intubated for the last 30 years laughing at that. But Ramon confused everyone for sure.
And then just one final pickup on things discussed in our prior episode. So we on last episode with Seeking Derangements, we discussed a gentleman known as Andrew R15. Well, I mean, this dovetails with last week's episodes in general because he went to go see The Sound of Freedom. And would you believe it? He now has a novel strategy to combat child trafficking, which is to confront any parent and child he sees at a supermarket where the child is having a tantrum. Like if a child is throwing stuff on the ground because their parents won't buy them Lucky Charms, they're probably being trafficked. And the way to intervene there is to have like the sweatiest oaf imaginable stand his ground and like, approach at a supermarket like women and children armed to intervene in human trafficking. The Sound of Freedom.
He said he didn't go as far as to say like every child who's crying is trafficked, but he said 9 times out of 10 it's just like normal child stuff. But that 1 time out of 10, do you really want that on your conscience? So 10% of all children who are crying are trafficked,
and warrants some sort of armed intervention. He's further explicated because it was a bit controversial. So he has another long ass post where he just says, "I may not have children right now, but I do want children of my own one day. And if I found out something like this would happen to my child, not only would I pray for the wrath of God would punish the trafficker, but also to every lazy and stupid moron that did nothing. This is why I refuse to do nothing if I hear a child screaming in the store. So forgive me if I'm a little concerned."
So, like, his hypothetical children have been trafficked, and it's not his fault, but it's everyone who's ever been around them. It's their fault for not rescuing his children that don't exist.
He says here, "Now, I'm not some reckless vigilante that will take action the moment I hear a commotion. I know this is a very rare occurrence, which is why I will be careful to discern a situation. But I also believe that when this rare occurrence happens, we need to take action. We can't sit idle anymore if someone is actually in danger because no one is going to like it when something like this happens to themselves. And that is why the message of The Sound of Freedom needs to be heard. These traffickers and pedophiles are only getting bolder because they know that there's a lot of people out there that will do nothing, and more people do nothing, the more power to them." That is all I have to say about this.
But like, has he done anything though? Because it makes it sound like he hasn't. Like he had, like he just came up with this, and now he just
saw the movie.
Yeah, he just came up with this, and now he's like, this has been going on this whole time. 10% of children are being trafficked, and no one's done anything. Like, okay, Andrew, why don't you go to the grocery store? Why don't you go to the grocery store and like whatever way that you got that range target, like whether it is like putting the gun in between your legs, just jumping up and down, just doing that. Time is a waste in here.
I mean, I don't want to sound a moral panic about movies, but I kind of feel about The Sound of Freedom the way people used to think about The Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, in that I think that this movie is likely to inspire violence of some kind. No, I mean, not really, but I have really enjoyed seeing the reactions to The Sound of Freedom, including continued videos of people showing up in empty movie theaters to be like, why isn't anyone here? Why, the air conditioning's on too much or too little, and just like something's not right here, something's happening. But I do think that this is like kind of the future of all movie marketing. It's because like, look, I mean, like there's an actors strike now. So I don't know. I think studios they should be buying tickets to their own movies. Like would The Flash have bombed so bad if Warner Brothers had done the Angel Studios strategy of just buying theaters full of empty seats to juice ticket sales? I don't know. They should.
Well, I'm into that was the Libs of TikTok thing. She posted she was going to the regular time to watch movies, which is like 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. Just nothing else going on. Time to go see a movie. But she like went in and all the seats were empty because someone bought all the tickets. And she said, "What the fuck? This said sold out and it's totally empty." But it's like, what would the function of that be? Like if George Soros is doing that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, what is the theory here?
Like, we have to prevent this we have to prevent this from spreading by word of mouth. So we'll buy like tens of millions of dollars of tickets, but no one will actually see it.
Yeah, I think so. It's like the fact that the movie can claim to be commercially successful is irrelevant to the cabal if they can prevent eyeballs from being this powerful message from being shared.
Or the traffickers themselves are actually staking out the screenings, and then when good potential anti-trafficking patriots show up to the screenings, they are trafficking them at the door away from the movie. Okay. So that is why the movie theater is empty.
We did say that last time. When Matt said that his theater is pretty empty, that's a possibility. But like, they're just throwing things, like anything that happens is just like proof that people are working against it.
Yeah.
Not many people know this, but at most movie theater, like most multiplex cinemas, there is they keep one sort of like their special theater, and it's like the last theater. And you walk in through the door and you go to sit down in what you think is a movie theater, but you've actually walked into the back of a truck on a loading dock. And then they close the doors and you're in a shipping container and you're being trafficked. That happened to half of the people who saw The Flash. Luckily, we made it out. All right. Well, moving on. Let's talk some new business or things that I did not get to on last week's show because we blew the roof off of the Cajun conspiracy, the Rue stratagem. But this concerns RFK Jr. And there's been some very good stuff lately happening on the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. presidential campaign. This begins with an article I was going to talk about last week that comes courtesy of Page Six, that I think is like the first like Pulitzer level campaign reporting for the 2024 election season. Headline: Robert F. Kennedy Jr. press dinner explodes in war of words and farting. It's okay. Camelot, it ain't. Page Six regrets to report that a press dinner to boost Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s presidential campaign descended into a foul bout of screaming and polemic farting Tuesday night. The White House hopeful attended the affair at Tony's on the Upper East Side, no doubt hoping to impress on the ladies and gentlemen of the Fourth Estate his worthiness to sit at the very same Oval Office desk once occupied by his late uncle. But a shouting match over the climate change broke out between two boisterous old men, sending the evening down an extremely unfortunate path. The gaseous exchange, to which Page Six bore reluctant witness, began after a guest asked Kennedy, founder of the ecological organization Waterkeeper Alliance, about the environment. It seemed that the mere inquiry was enough to set off apparently drunk gossip columnist turned flack Doug Deshert, the host of the event, who became enraged and screamed at the top of his lungs, "The climate hoax!" Meanwhile, octogenarian art critic Anthony Hayden Guest, who had appeared to have been sleeping happily for most of the dinner, was roused by the abrupt rumpus. He suddenly opened his eyes and denounced his longtime pal Deshert, calling him a miserable blob. "Shut up," implored Hayden Guest. Hayden Guest tells us he was not asleep. "I was just thinking," he told us, and says that he is the one who asked the question about the environment. Deshert continued to scream wildly about the climate change scam, while Hayden Guest peppered him with verbal volleys from across the table, calling him variously fucking insane and insignificant. Meanwhile, Kennedy, a prospective president of the United States, watched calmly. Here, it seems, Deshert sensed the need for a new rhetorical tack and let rip a loud, prolonged fart while yelling as if to underscore his point, "I'm farting." I would highly recommend looking up this Page Six article just to see just to see what Mr. Deschert and Anthony Hayden Guest look like.
Mr. Deschart.
Because it is very fitting.
I like that the high level Kennedy campaign dinners are like the class that they put Precious in the movie. It's like it is like the remedial and like bad kids class for donors.
It's like season 4 of The Wire where Bunny has the class for like all the disruptive kids who are just all the corner kids who can't sit still and are screaming the entire time so other kids can't learn.
Yeah, this is like you
farted, Mr. Presbo. Fuck you.
Yeah, you have to be an RFK donor if you're like too fucked up to be a Trump donor. Like you can't that's like failing out of the classes they have for like kids on the football team who they want to keep on. This is the most remedial classroom I've ever heard of.
I also like that given the age and location of all these people, it sounds like the group of like the last men standing from the people who couldn't get in the room when John F. Kennedy was hanging out with the Rat Pack.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of guys who imagine themselves as like Hep Cats in like 1963 and just are the ones who made it to 85 before they died of like lung cancer or some kind of stomach ulcer from surviving only on whiskey for 20 years.
I like it.
It's ring-a-ding. It's ring-a-ding-ding for this climate change bunk. Hey, Dino used to fart in my mouth all the time back at the Sands.
And RFK is just like letting this happen. Like that's like he's not like this is ridiculous. We're above this. He's like, no, we should let this play out. It's I got to hear both these guys out.
Mr. Descharts is a very old friend. We got to hear what he has to say.
The room, which included a handful of journalists as well as Kennedy's campaign manager, former Representative Dennis Kucinich, was stunned, seemingly unsure about whether Deschert was farting at Hayden Guest personally or at the very notion of global warming. Regrettably, we may assure readers that there was no room for doubt that the climate changed in the immediate environs of the dinner table. The candidate maintained a steady composure in the face of the crisis. Former Page Six reporter Flo Anthony attempted to change the subject, telling Kennedy how much he admired his father, the tragic Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy. Sadly, and somewhat inexplicably, another guest brought things back to climate change, leading to another round of yelling. We're told Deschert and Hayden Guest have known each other for 3 decades. When asked about the comment about his outburst the next day, Deschert told us, "I apologize for using my flatulence as a medium of public commentary in your presence." He also asked us to refer to him as either a gallivanting boulevardier or a beer-fueled sex rocket. A beer-fueled sex rocket.
How old is Doo-Doo Deschert? How old is he?
At least 60. At least in his 60s.
Damn. Yeah, this is... I wouldn't say his campaign is, like, above this. This is, like... Yeah, this is pretty much what the RFK campaign deserves. Was this the same dinner where he was like, you know, Jews and Chinese people descended from
Yes. Yes, Felix. In fact, it actually was.
It was literally the same dinner?
I was like, yeah. So, I mean, it says that this is the follow-up to this story. The New York Post obtained a video from a recent RFK Jr. event where he suggested COVID is a Chinese bioweapon ethnically targeted to attack Caucasians and Black people and to spare Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese people. Okay, like the first problem, let's say the first problem I have with this is that Ashkenazi Jews love going to the doctor more than anything. So the idea that there would be a bioweapon to spare them from that is quite disturbing.
Well, I mean, we still get to go to the doctor. We still like get to go to the doctor and get the shot. I mean, like RFK made this point in the worst way possible, but
what was the point?
Well, I've never tested positive for COVID. No one in my family who's even gotten it has like even like felt sick ever. So like maybe. But then I'm sure there's a counterexample of a different Jewish guy who like had to get 3 limbs amputated because of COVID. So I don't know. We'll have to take it up with the scientific community. No, he did the thing I hate the most, which is like he said this was a bioweapon that was specifically made to exclude Jews and Chinese people. And then was like, I didn't say that.
The follow-up here, this is ABC News. RFK Jr. accused of making anti-Semitic racist claims about COVID-19, but insists he was misunderstood. In a brief phone interview with ABC News on Sunday, Kennedy insisted he was appalled. He said his comments about immunity had been misunderstood, specifically over how a news report implied he was talking about some ethnicities being spared. He also invoked his famous family's history of supporting Israel. My father was in Israel prior to the creation of the Israeli state and spent a lifetime fighting for Israel, fighting for its rights to exist and for a strong alliance with the United States, he said, adding, my own campaign, one of the primary themes of this campaign, is to bring the Democratic Party back to its traditional support for Israel. There is nobody who is running for president today who is a stronger champion for Israel than myself. In an interview with ABC News...
What an outsider. I can really see why they want to take him down.
But, okay, the guy he's got coming off the bench for him, oh boy, it's Rabbi Shmuley Bayotek. It's the official rabbi of the RFK Jr. campaign who they're trotting out to, said that there's absolutely nothing anti-Semitic about what he said. He said, well, you know what, Bobby? I think the opposite is true. I witnessed the decimation of Ashkenazi Jews in the New York Hasidic community in Crown Heights. They lost 80 senior rabbis in the first month to COVID, all Ashkenazi Jews. He said that while the two disagree vociferously on a number of topics, they still speak nearly every day. Biotek added that he believes Kennedy is an ally to Jews, not an anti-Semite, but he condemned Kennedy's comments. In a statement sent by his campaign challenging the Post headline on its story, Kennedy maintained that he has never ever suggested that the COVID-19 virus was engineered to spare Jews. So what to make of this? I did enjoy it. Well, Shmuley is a great character.
Yeah, well, I'm okay. So let's try to see it from his perspective. Okay, why would the Chinese spare Jew? Like, why would they be like, we need to make a virus that like it'll be fun for us and Jews. I sort of picture it like no one at the Jewish cabal asked for it. They were just like, this will impress them if we're like, hey, we made this whole virus, but you can't get it. Isn't that cool? I think it would be like when Japanese game makers put golems and Dybbuk in their games to impress Jews. In East Asia, there's a lot of weebism for the Jewish people.
Yeah.
And so this might be connected.
It's like, when the Japanese imperial government was given the protocols, the Elders of Zion by the Third Reich, and they were like, damn, these guys are on point. We got to start fucking with these chosen people. They got their shit locked down.
They read protocols. It was like in State Property when Beanie Siegel saw Memphis Bleak kill the guy in the strip club. He's like, you need someone like that on your crew. But
I'm saying to blacks and Caucasians, you either get down or you lay down, motherfuckers. I mean, I don't know, like the whole Caucasians and blacks are more susceptible to COVID-19. I mean, like, is this going off the hashtag died suddenly? Like, sort of where prominent athletes or like Lance Reddick drops dead and like that raises an eyebrow or two.
I don't know because. Okay, like is natural immunity like fine or not? Like what point is he making here? That COVID is still extremely deadly for like just regular white people and black people, but you shouldn't take the vaccine or presumably like get intubated. But you should take like the antibody shit that they did in Florida. I don't know. Like, I mean,
ivermectin. I mean, once again, like it's something we've talked about on the show over and over again when it comes to COVID hysteria of either variety. What do you want from me? Like, what should I do? Give me some practical instructions about how to metabolize these claims that you're making. Because 90% of the time, it's just sort of like, fuck it. Like, I'm either going to die or I'm not. Who cares? Shut up.
Yeah, and there's like, he's so all over the place with this. Like, I thought... Like, if you're going to say, like, COVID's fake, fuck the vaccine, okay. But then going in a whole other direction where it's like, oh, actually, it's so dangerous that it's a racial bioweapon. Like, okay, then maybe people should get the vaccine. What are you saying? You don't even know what you're doing. You're not even a good crank. He's so fun. Like, he can't do anything right.
Shmuley Biotek is like the perfect person to be on board with the RFK Jr. campaign because like he's one of my absolute favorite characters, and one of my favorite things in the video he released sort of supporting RFK and saying that he's not an anti-Semite, one of the examples he used that he couldn't possibly be an anti-Semite is that his father was killed by Sirhan Sirhan for his support of Israel. Less than a year ago, RFK Jr. said Sirhan Sirhan didn't kill his father and should be let out of prison.
Well, that's like the one thing he's right about.
Yes.
Like, Sirhan, like that is like, okay, that like, yeah. Okay, I agree there. But everything else is just everything else he like goes out of his way to be wrong on topics that usually don't go together. Like he's a combination of like Chuck Baldwin and the Constitution Party's positions in 2008 and then like Joe Lieberman. It is the candidacy for no one.
Well, it's like, it's for someone. There are people out there. His
David
message
Sachs
is resonating. Yeah. RFK also got in hot water last. I mean, like this one's kind of stupid. It says Twitter ignites after RFK Jr. calls Ice Cube influential civil rights leader. And, he got his photo taken with him and stuff. And Ice Cube wanted to clarify that he does not. It was not an endorsement. But I mean, like this seems one of like the more tepid RFK Jr. controversies.
Ice Cube was a neighborhood activist.
Yeah, he's also an anti-vax guy.
I more care about his work where he like rid the neighborhood of Debo. They got rid of those gangbangers in Rancho Cucamonga. I forget what happens in Friday After Next, but I'm sure some more good deeds.
If he supports Ice Cube, that's good. That's good enough for me. I like that. That's in the win column for RFK Jr. So he's not gonna get a scolding from me on calling him a civil rights leader, even if it is a bit.
Do you remember
much.
when Ice Cube he posted like some like Black Israelite thing? I forget what or something. It was like before the Kyrie thing, actually.
Right.
But this guy like Morton Klein, who's the head of Zionist Organization of America, which is like, I don't know. In previous years, I would call it like slightly to the right of AIPAC. It's sort of like Gun Owners of America versus the NRA.
Yeah.
But now they're pretty much like openly in lockstep. There's no real reason for ZOA to exist, I would say. But Mort Klein met with Ice Cube to prove he is an anti-Semitic, and then in several follow-up posts said, my friend, the black rapper Ice Cube, has learned a lot about the Jewish people and the Holocaust. I'm very proud of the black rapper Ice Cube. That's now I think about that anytime I think of Ice Cube. Just Mort Klein saying, the black rapper Ice Cube, my friend.
I gotta say, going from saying I'll never have dinner with the president to having dinner with the head of with Mort Klein. Sorry, that's an L for Ice Cube right there.
Okay. I found one of the posts. This is good. Mort Klein, just had a 2-hour conversation with Ice Cube. We both grew up poor in black hoods. Cube told me he thanked Jews for starting the NAACP, many black schools, and fighting for black civil rights. Cube told me he supports condemning black and all anti-Semitism, and I condemned all racism. This was July of 2020. This is the only good thing that happened in 2020.
Yeah.
Was the Ice Cube and fucking Mort Klein meeting.
To us, Uncle Sam is Hitler without the ovens. That's my favorite Ice Cube line. Well, moving on from RFK Jr., let's check in on the DeSantis campaign. And the first thing I need to talk about is we need to break down the provenance of the video of DeSantis going, hungry.
Hungry.
Okay, so
because apparently it is fake.
It is fake, but it's like
I choose to believe it's real.
It feels realer than any. Like it doesn't feel fake. You know, how different is that from like the weird faces he makes and the off-putting things he always does?
I think that like the DeSantis hungry video clip is not true in a literal sense, but this is sort of like a Straussian meta truth. It communicates an emotional truth that is realer than fact checking can account for. And I will note that the main fact check on this came courtesy of Newsweek, which is just sort of like the DeSantis man house menu. But it doesn't need to be real for it to be true. Hungry.
Hungry.
Yeah, no, it is. He's probably done that in the past, just not on video.
But okay, let me ask you this: if DeSantis has just been sated by eating a large and very satisfying meal, do you think he would rub his tummy in sort of contentment? We sort of pat or rub his stomach and go,
Yeah, and I think when he sleeps, he gets like a big weird bubble in his mouth, like the horny teacher from Dragon Ball Z.
So does he perpetually keep a feather floating just above his mouth as he sleeps and goes?
Yeah, no, he's a tune. He does all the tune things.
Okay. This next one is the first actual victory, or like the first actual good thing I've seen the DeSantis campaign do, and that's a Trump PAC posted a video showing what appears to be a Ron DeSantis canvasser caught on a Ring video, describing how he tells off unfriendly people. Eat my balls, eat my big hairy sack, and I'm a little stoned, so I don't care.
Fuck you, get off my fucking lawn. Then I'd be like, yo, eat my balls, honestly. Eat my big, hairy sack.
You telling a sack?
And I'm a little stoned, so I don't.
So there's like a rude DeSantis teen telling people as he knocks on doors to suck his dick, he's high, fuck you. Which I think is probably the most effective voter outreach that Ron DeSantis' campaign has ever done.
Yeah, I was with this guy, he doesn't seem like a true DeSantis head.
No, he's clearly someone who's just been doing it for money. Like it's just a job, it's just a paycheck.
Yeah.
But also, another headline, DeSantis campaign sheds staff amid cash crunch. Basically, he's running out of money. It says here, fewer than 10 staffers were let go by the Florida governor's campaign Thursday, according to a person familiar with internal deliberations and granted anonymity to describe them. Each of the aides was involved in event planning, and some of them may soon wind up at an allied outside group. Never back down. The pro-DeSantis super PAC has received resumes from staffers who'd been let go, a person familiar with the group said. Then we have another piece in the Washington Post, a long slog inside DeSantis' early struggles in effort to rebound. Quote here, nothing in the last 8 weeks or so would convince anyone, holy moly, we've got to pack up our tent and go home, said Republican strategist Dave Carney, who is working on the presidential bid and is a longtime advisor to another governor, Republican Greg Abbott of Texas. He's got plenty of time to recover and get back to where he was in January or February, but a lot of wasted time. DeSantis has expressed confidence in his position and the ground game his allies are building in early states. We just gave you the story about his ground game in early states. Watch and learn, he said in Iowa on Friday when asked how he diminished Trump's lead. Don't believe me? Just watch. Just watch. It says, but one donor who recently hosted an event for DeSantis described hearing his sentiments such as, what's going on? And does he even have a chance from associates? This donor was trying to get other rich Republicans to give to DeSantis, but most wanted to keep their powder dry after his lackluster beginning. Still, even attendees at DeSantis events have been drawn to Trump's charisma, and the former president took the opportunity to draw a contrast, joking that his rival needed a personality transplant. On the trail, DeSantis can be brief with voters and terse with reporters. And just to crown off the latest DeSantis news, I got a real kick out of this is a blog done at the National Review by Rich Lowry. Like I say a blog post. This is more like a Twitter post. I was like, this is the sum total of Rich Lowry's like little posts on the National Review. It says here, the only problem Ron DeSantis has is that he's running against Donald Trump. There's been a lot of conversation about the DeSantis stall lately, and it's true. He didn't get a big bounce from his announcement. There are various reasons advanced for DeSantis not getting more traction, some of which have validity. He's not an electric campaigner. He's emphasized his anti-woke agenda to the exclusion of other important things. But we aren't looking at a campaign with the flaws of a highly touted campaigns that have flamed out over the years. No, I think the biggest problem he has is that Trump still has a grip on the party, and loosening it is an enormous and very tricky task. If Trump weren't in the race, DeSantis pretty clearly would be the front runner. That doesn't change his situation, obviously, but we should be clear about what's going on. So that's his problem. He would definitely be in the lead right now if Trump wasn't also running for president.
Yeah, if we lived in an entirely different reality.
Another article, Rupert Murdoch begins to suspect DeSantis is actually a loser. And then, like, they also said, like, a lot of these big money GOP donors are starting to look at Tim Scott. This is courtesy of Politico. Top donors souring on DeSantis start looking to Tim Scott. Good luck.
Just just looking at him in general, for a particular role.
They love looking at him. It says here, Haim Saban. Oh no, and there's Andy Sabin, a metal mogul and Republican contributor, says of Tim Scott, he's the one guy running who's got some personality and charisma. His delivery is terrific.
That is the main thing people think with Tim Scott is charisma.
But basically, yeah, it's just DeSantis continues to circle the drain. Got no charm, no personality, and he's we'll see how he rebrands. Did you see the DeSantis campaign put out a video that was attacking Trump on his support for LGBT inclusion in the Republican Party?
Yeah, I saw that, and it was interesting because my favorite guy, Scott Presler, The Persistence.
Oh, The Persistence, yeah.
Yeah, he replied to that, and he went, pretty good question, I thought. What do you think of me? Because, Presler is, how effective, I don't know. He seems to always go to these places where Republicans lose Senate races by 40 points. And he's like, well, I'm going canvassing. But he's this openly gay Trump guy who's just disgustingly positive and goes around doing all this shit. And it was okay, is there a place at the party for the weirdest gay guys who have ever lived? All the Trump gay guys from 2016, like Scott Presler. But then, more interesting than that, a bunch of just normal Trump people, the regular shitheads you see that just buy blue checks and like Trump but aren't media figures, were just openly saying this is unnerving and and turns people off and is just pointlessly hateful, which I found very interesting. I don't know, that's probably mostly just because it's in opposition to Trump, but it is. We have said that before, that DeSantis is so off-putting and just cruel for the sake of cruelty that it turns off even people who share most of his opinions.
Yeah, and it's just the thing is Trump did very well with the message that he wasn't a normal Republican and that he was inviting gay people and not white people to remember what he said, what do you have to lose? Hop on board, right. Hop on get down with the party.
In 2016, Trump won because he was seen as more moderate. I don't think that exactly will happen again, but it is even though it's a stupid reason to vote for him, that is an important piece of the formula. And it's something that just no one will ever see with DeSantis, I don't think.
And the last thing I want to talk about in regards to the Republican primary is remember that guy Burgum? Doug Burgum.
Is that his only name? Oh,
Doug Burgum.
Who is this again?
He is the North or South Dakota governor who's running for the Republican nomination. Doug Burgum. We talked about him 2 weeks ago.
I do not remember him.
Yeah, he's the governor of North Dakota, who is, despite our awareness, running for the Republican nomination for president. Okay, it says, inside the GOP presidential candidate gift card ploy, turning campaign finance upside down. Doug Burgum, the Republican governor of North Dakota, is running for president, but he has a problem. Most voters don't know who he is. Burgum has a solution for that, to make a splash on the debate stage. But there's another problem. The Republican National Committee requires at least 40,000 individual donors as one of its criteria for allowing a candidate on the debate stage. And Burgum is far from a household name who could gather all those donors. So Burgum, once again, come up with a novel solution. He wants to give 50,000 campaign donors $20 all-purpose gift cards in exchange for a $1 contribution. It's a $1 million gambit that could work a lot more effectively than spending $1 million on a meager number of television ads. But the clever strategy could create its own set of thorny problems, according to experts who say it may not be legal. Beyond that, the RNC may not find it meets their new donor requirements for qualification. Some believe the scheme, while perhaps unsavory, does pass legal muster as a campaign expense. Burgum would not need to qualify for the debate if he weren't a candidate, they said. So in that sense, his expenses pass the FEC's irrespective test. Other experts, however, have argued that the ploy appears to be a reimbursement scheme which would violate the straw donor ban, contributions in the name of another person. And some said it could add up to an en masse conversion of $950,000 in campaign funds to personal use, which would be another serious violation. So basically, they're going to give you $20 to donate $1 to his campaign. So if any sort of, I don't know, entrepreneurial listeners, that sounds like free money to me.
I got to say, similar to how I forgot who Doug Burzum is. I just, if you put a gun to my head and made me recap what you just told me, I think I would die on the spot. I do not. This is like one of those schemes where like kids say they're selling candy bars for a basketball team. Just incredibly complicated. And like, I could even see this working, because if he was explaining this to me in person, I would give him $3 to stop trying to explain this to me.
Well, it's already working. I mean, like you've been made aware again of who Doug Burzum is. So, I mean, in a very literal sense, I guess, you know, I'm aware. Yeah, nothing else. I just associate him with like the feeling of being taught a card game, I guess. But he's, you know, we're talking about him again. Yeah. I associate him more with Thulian perspectives on government.
I wish.
We should be so lucky. I guess like the last thing going on is actors are on strike now. I gotta say, I was kind of surprised by this. Like I had assumed that like the studios were going to basically give a better deal to SAG to like sort of drive a wedge between them and the WGA to like make the WGA strike harder. I just thought they were going to cut them a better deal to sort of cleave them off from the other major industry union. But it appears they've told them to go fuck themselves too. So no movies or television for a long time. That should be fun.
Yeah, I was already sad that you know, we weren't getting any new SVU until Q4 2023. But now there's just really nothing to look forward to.
Did you see Ron Perlman threatening to burn down the house of the producer?
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
He was going play mode.
I did see someone. I saw a funny exchange. Someone was like, "Does Ron Perlman like think he's the characters that he plays in movies?" And someone was like, "Oh yeah, you don't think Ron Perlman's a tough guy? He pissed on his hand before he met Harvey Weinstein." And that's like, it doesn't strike me as like tough. That's like not something that like a scary criminal would do. That's just like you have piss on your hand too.
I mean, I don't wash my hands after I pee all over them, and I touch people all the time. That's normal behavior to me. I'm not a tough guy. I'm no hero. I just like keeping piss on my hands and touching people.
Yeah, that's how you get into the GDs. You have to have piss on your hands for 3 minutes.
I mean, like when Fran Drescher was addressing it, I mean, apparently one of the things that was proposed by the American Association of Producers or whatever was that background actors like could be scanned digitally and then have their likenesses used forever without being paid a single cent. That's a rather disturbing development in all this, but
that's fine.
I mean, like, yeah, it is nuts though to like see these guys go on TV and plead poverty about like we can't possibly like their demands just aren't realistic. And I understand like actors and writers are sort of like the highest echelon of union labor in terms of like the type of job they do and the amount that they get compensated for their work. But it is insane reading some of these stories about how like the cast of Orange is the New Black has received like 30 cents in residuals for like what Netflix claimed was like the biggest show they've ever done.
Right. And it's also like a lot of them are like the highest echelon of like union labor, but there was like a robust middle class of actor that could make a very good living, like appearing as, you know, good character actors on network or streaming TV shows and make like not an extravagant, but pretty good income through residuals. And it seems like everything that's like that in America, any like indirect path to comfort, and like anything below just the highest level, but still taking advantage of some part of the system has slowly been phased out entirely. that seems to be completely impossible now. You have to either be in the highest tier of the acting profession, or you have to like do it in addition to working for DoorDash now.
I mean, like, that seems to be the way things are going in so many aspects of American life, is like things that were once taken for granted, just in terms of like, do I pay money for this product that I can use after I buy it? Or like the expectations that you have of like what exchanging money for a good or service entitles you to is now being like, that only encompasses like the theoretical use of that good or service, but to like actually access it, you need to, like, as I was talking about airlines, you need to like be in like pay again to enter some higher tier of like, to get like the luxury service is what the like used to be like the standard that you could expect of anything. And like, yeah, it's the same thing with jobs as well. Yeah. Like, and the ultra elite have like the people, like, for instance, the people who own airline companies, like, would never fly commercial ever. And like, they're like, they take advantage of infrastructure that exists that we all like depend on. And like, could the next president just make private air travel illegal? Because I mean, like, air travel is wasteful enough as it is, but at the same time, it condenses time and space in a way that no other mode of transportation can do. And as such, it's very necessary, and that like the, you know, access to that should be, you know, widely available. But it's just like they've created for themselves this, like, whether you're like Bob Iger or Zaslav or guys like this, like I just like the way they feel entitled to like $500 million over the last 5 years for like owning a movie studio or whatever. But like if you can't still make money as a movie studio, like without paying the people who fucking create movies for you, then like, why should there be a movie studio? Like, why are you entitled to all this fucking money? Like, what do you do for it? What do you like? What entitles you to all this shit that like everyone else's demands on you are so fucking unrealistic? Anyway, it just seems like everything's getting shittier. Like everything sucks, and everything is getting shittier and shittier. And all I can do is, what can one even do? Just throw up your hands? I mean, I don't know, but it sucks. Everything sucks. Sorry. All right. Actually, can I make a plea to our Canadian listeners before we exit the show? All right. Canadian listeners of the show, as you might remember, we are going to be in Fair Canada in August in Montreal and Toronto for 2 live shows. I would like to ask our Canadian listeners of the show to suggest to me, who are your favorite awful Canadian media figures? Who are the best shitheads in the Canadian media? Opinion columnists, TV presenters, people who I can sort of give. I would like to give an accurate and full-bodied rundown, or I'd like to make a selection from some of your choices of the worst members of the people that you have to deal with and see on TV in Canada all the time that I maybe not be so much familiar with. But I would like you to email chapotraphouse@gmail.com. Use the subject line Canadian shitheads, and just share with me some links to, you know, keep it brief. Like, you know, just give me 1 or 2 people of your favorites and send me links to columns that you may think would be funny for us to explore on stage in Montreal and Toronto. So yeah, chapotraphouse@gmail.com. Subject line Canadian shitheads. Chris, is there still tickets available?
There are tickets available. The Toronto show on August 17th at the Danforth Music Hall is almost sold out, but I think that we're actually going to release a handful more tickets in the next few days. Montreal tickets still available. Despite our Ticketmaster bungle saying it was sold out almost immediately, we do have a fair amount of tickets left for that. Get those while you can.
All right, gentlemen. That does it for today's show. Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Before I get off this, the motherfucker who said we're going to keep this thing going until people start losing their houses and their apartments. Listen to me, motherfucker. There's a lot of ways to lose your house. Some of it is financial, some of it is karma, and some of it is just figuring out who the fuck said that. And we know who said that, and where he fucking lives. There's a lot of ways to lose your house.